As if announcing spring's arrival to the streets of Chicago, Caroline Morrison's flower shop, A Blooming Heart, was filled with colorful blooms. The seasonal flowers she had displayed since early morning stopped passers-by in their tracks, naturally bringing smiles to their faces. "Good morning, Mrs. Green. Your favorite lilacs came in today," Caroline cheerfully called out to a regular customer. Her face held both gentleness and strength. She enjoyed deep trust from local residents, and her shop was more than just a flower store, it had become a cornerstone of the community. While watering the flowers, Caroline's heart felt a bit heavy. This weekend was a family gathering to celebrate her parents' wedding anniversary. She was supposed to bring a bouquet, but honestly, she wasn't looking forward to it. It'll just turn into the same old conversation about, "Still single at your age," and "When are you going to settle down?" she sighed while trimming rose stems. Caroline's parents, Howard and Elizabeth, were a typical upper-middle-class couple living in an upscale suburb of Chicago. Howard was a retired law firm partner, and Elizabeth was a prominent figure in the local arts association. Their values were old-fashioned, and they expected their daughters to build good families. Her sister Brenda had fulfilled those expectations by marrying a successful investment banker, living in an upscale neighborhood, and raising two perfect children. Meanwhile, Caroline had quit her corporate management position after college against her parents' wishes to open a small flower shop. Her choice had never gained her family's understanding, and her mother repeatedly told her she was wasting her talent. The shop phone rang, bringing Caroline back to reality. It was from St. Mary's Hospital. "Yes, this is Blooming Heart." "Yes, I'll deliver the volunteer flowers tomorrow." "No problem, the usual time." After hanging up, Caroline's smile returned. Every Wednesday, she volunteered to deliver flowers to terminal patients at the hospital. Those encounters had significantly changed her life. Last fall, while Caroline was arranging flowers in a hospital room, a man entered. This modestly dressed man took the hand of an elderly woman sleeping in the bed and spoke to her gently. "That's Michael Daniels," a nurse later told her. "He comes to see his grandmother every day. She raised him. Isn't he devoted?" Caroline and Michael's conversation began with casual talk about flowers. Michael's grandmother, Ruth, had been a gardening enthusiast. From then on, they met every Wednesday at the hospital. Michael didn't share much about what he did, but he showed genuine interest in Caroline's work and passion for flowers. Even after Ruth passed away, Michael began visiting Caroline's shop. She only learned he was an executive at a major medical equipment manufacturer after they started dating. He hadn't revealed his identity from the beginning because too many people change their attitude depending on who you are. While wrapping flowers, Caroline gazed at the engagement ring on her finger. After a year of dating, Michael had proposed last month. She was happy, but she still lacked the courage to share this happiness with her family. She hadn't introduced Michael to them because she wanted to protect him from their critical eyes. The shop door opened, and the mail carrier entered. "Morning, Caroline. Special delivery for you." Opening the envelope, she found a letter from the hospital. It was the results of her routine checkup. Caroline had undergone tests a week ago after experiencing dizziness and nausea. As she read through the letter, the color drained from her face. It can't be. Caroline sank into her office chair. She read the letter over and over. She was pregnant. An unexpected pregnancy at 39. Her mind was in turmoil, but deep inside, a small joy began to bloom. That night, Caroline told Michael about the pregnancy. Seeing the look of pure joy on his face eased her anxiety a little. "The doctor said there are risks with a pregnancy at my age," Caroline said worriedly. Michael took her hand and replied, "We already love this child. Everything will be fine. I'll make sure you get the best medical care possible." Caroline rested her head on Michael's shoulder. She decided to announce both her pregnancy and engagement at this weekend's family gathering. Her family would be surprised, but surely they would celebrate her happiness. Michael would be coming too. Actually, the couple had another plan. They were preparing to buy a new house for her parents, a lakeside property Howard and Elizabeth had long dreamed of. Caroline imagined her parents understanding her choices, accepting Michael as family, and loving their future grandchild. On Thanksgiving morning, Caroline took extra care with her appearance. Her cream-colored knit dress enhanced her warm demeanor and naturally concealed her slightly rounded abdomen. She was scheduled to meet Michael at her parents' home at noon. He had called to say he would be a bit late due to an important meeting. "It's okay. I can tell them by myself," Caroline reassured him over the phone. "I'll announce the pregnancy and engagement, and then introduce you properly when you arrive." Caroline headed to her parents' home with homemade cranberry sauce and an elaborate flower arrangement from her shop. The Morrison family mansion stood deep along a street covered with fallen leaves. The large brick house still evoked complex childhood emotions for her. "Caroline." Elizabeth greeted her at the entrance. Dressed in an elegant pearled necklace and sophisticated dress, her mother gave her a light kiss on the cheek, the usual ceremonial greeting. "I thought you might be late. Brenda has already arrived with her children." The family had gathered in the living room. Father Howard was reading his newspaper as usual, Sister Brenda sat on the sofa with her husband James, and their 2 children were playing on the floor. "Finally showing up," Brenda said, glancing at her watch. There was a hint of superiority in her voice. "Late as usual." Caroline maintained her smile and placed the flower arrangement on the table. "Beautiful flowers," her mother said, but quickly changed the subject, proudly beginning to talk about how Brenda's Jeremy won a piano competition recently. The Thanksgiving dinner in the dining room was, as usual, filled with family boasting. Caroline listened quietly, inwardly searching for the perfect timing to share her happy news. "I was surprised when he said he wanted to learn piano," Brenda was saying. "But with Morrison family blood, talent is to be expected, right? By the way, Caroline," Howard suddenly turned to her. "Do you remember that lawyer's son, David Wilson? I heard he got divorced. Good timing, don't you think?" Caroline forced a tense smile. "Dad, I already have." "Caroline, you're not getting any younger," her mother interrupted. "How long do you plan to stay single? Do you intend to end your life in that little flower shop?" The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. Caroline took a deep breath and steeled her resolve. Now was the time to tell them. "Actually, I have something to tell everyone." The table fell silent. All eyes were on her. Though nervous, Caroline wore a happy smile. "I'm pregnant." After a moment of silence, the room froze in a chilling atmosphere. Elizabeth nearly dropped her glass, and Howard put down his newspaper, staring at his daughter in disbelief. "You're joking, right?" Brenda was the first to speak. "At 39? Whose child is it?" "Michael's, he's." Just as Caroline tried to explain, her mother cut in. "Caroline." Elizabeth's voice trembled. "What are you thinking? A pregnancy at your age is embarrassing. The risks are so high." "Mom, we've consulted with doctors." "Get rid of it," her mother's words were cold and resolute. "You can't possibly raise a child alone, at your age, with that small business." Pain shot through Caroline's heart. She tried to tell them about her engagement, but Elizabeth wouldn't listen. "Mom, please. Listen. Be quiet." Howard suddenly stood up. His face was contorted with anger. To do such a shameful thing. "Have you ever thought about the Morrison family's honor?" Caroline gripped the edge of the table with trembling hands. "Dad, I'm happy. I just wanted to share this with my family." "If you're going to have it, then get out," Howard spat. "You're a stain on our family line. Do as you please." The room was tense. Brenda cleared her throat and smiled maliciously. "What's the point of garbage producing more garbage?" she said mockingly. "You've always failed, and now you're going to make a child miserable too? That's laughable." Tears welled in Caroline's eyes. She stood up, placing her hands protectively over her stomach. Why would you say such things? We're family, aren't we?" "Caroline, face reality," her mother said in a lowered voice. "You've always been unstable, unable to take responsibility for your choices. You can't raise a child." Caroline was speechless. The happy family reaction she had imagined was shattered by the cruel reality. She wasn't even given a chance to explain about Michael. "I am leaving," Caroline managed to say. She stumbled to her feet and headed for the entrance. No one tried to stop her. Outside, the cold autumn wind struck her cheeks. She got into her car and couldn't move for a while, her forehead pressed against the steering wheel. With trembling hands, she took out her mobile phone and saw a message from Michael, "On my way now." Did it go well? Caroline wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and called him. When Michael answered, her pent-up emotions exploded. "Michael, it was terrible, She cried as she told him what had happened. "Where are you now?" Michael's voice was calm, but she could tell he was restraining his anger. "In the car, in front of the house. Don't move. I'll be right there." 10 minutes later, Michael's car pulled up beside hers. He jumped out and embraced Caroline tightly. "It's okay," he whispered. "You and the baby are my family. That's all that matters." Wrapped in his warmth, Caroline regained some composure. She was still clutching the keys to the new house they had prepared for her parents. They remained in her coat pocket. "I'm sorry, Michael. I shouldn't have let you meet my family." Michael gently cradled her face and said, "You've done nothing wrong. It's those who can't see your worth who are at fault." Caroline made up her mind. Her future wasn't here. She didn't need to remain bound by past ties. She had her own choices and the right to create her own family. "Let's cancel the plans for the new house," she said quietly. "I don't want to give them anything anymore." Michael nodded, respecting her decision. "Let's walk a new path together, with this little life inside you." Caroline placed her hand on her stomach and smiled. She was hurt, but she also felt hope. Her true family was beginning from this moment on. As they drove away, no one watched them leave from the Morrison house windows. The next morning, Caroline sank into the sofa in her apartment where she lived alone. Sunlight streamed through the window onto her face, but her eyes were vacant, yesterday's memories replaying in her mind. Her parents' and Brenda's cold words continued to pierce her heart. "A pregnancy at your age is shameful. Get rid of it. If you're going to have it, get out. You're a stain on our family line. What's the point of garbage producing more garbage?" Caroline hugged her knees and placed her hand on her slightly swelling stomach. "It's okay, little one. I'll protect you," she whispered softly. The doorbell rang, bringing Caroline back to reality. It was Michael. Last night he had driven her home and said, "Call me if you need anything," before leaving. "Did you get some rest?" Michael asked, kissing her forehead. In his hands was a large paper bag that wafted the smell of fresh bagels and fruit. "Thank you," Caroline smiled, but her expression showed that yesterday's pain hadn't completely disappeared. They sat down for breakfast. Michael observed Caroline with concern. He had thought about her all night, regretting how much her family had hurt her and that he hadn't been there beside her. "Caroline," Michael said with determination. "I want to meet your family." Caroline looked up in surprise. "What are you saying? Have you forgotten what happened yesterday?" "I haven't forgotten," Michael took her hand. "That's exactly why I want to meet them. They need to know the truth. For your sake, and," he gently placed his hand on Caroline's stomach, "for this child's sake." "But they hurt you." "But they judged without knowing the whole truth. At the very least, I think they should have a chance to know who we are and what kind of future we're planning." Caroline hesitated. The pain of her family's rejection was still fresh. But seeing Michael's serious gaze, she slowly began to open her heart. "This is our last chance," Michael said quietly. "If they can't accept you both, we'll go our own way. But if they reconsider even a little, that would be good for you and the baby." After thinking for a while, Caroline slowly nodded. "All right. But I won't let them hurt me again." There was a new strength in her voice. Yesterday's weakness and fear had vanished, replaced by firm resolve. "We'll go today. Wait a bit while I get ready." Caroline showered and carefully chose her clothes. The light gray dress conveyed elegance and confidence. She styled her hair neatly and put on the pearl earrings she had bought the day Michael gave her the engagement ring. She took a deep breath in front of the mirror. "I'm ready." Michael looked at her and smiled. "Beautiful. A proud, strong woman." They went outside. Parked on the street was a luxury car unlike any Caroline had ever seen. The matte black body reflected the morning light, and chrome details gleamed elegantly. "What's this?" "It's my car. I came in the company car yesterday," Michael said, looking slightly embarrassed. "I don't usually use it, but today is a special day." He opened the door and guided Caroline to the passenger seat. The interior was filled with the scent of quality leather, and handmade wooden panels exuded luxury. "Nervous?" Michael looked at her. "Yes, but I'll be fine," Caroline answered quietly. "I'm no longer influenced by their words. I decide my own life." The car quietly cruised through the city toward the upscale neighborhood where the Morrison family lived. As they passed tree-lined avenues beginning to change color, they barely exchanged words. Each was contemplating what was about to happen. When Michael's car quietly stopped in front of the Morrison house, a woman gardening next door paused to look. Caroline's heart was pounding heavily. "They're probably watching from the window," she whispered. Indeed, shadows could be seen peeking through the curtains. Caroline took a deep breath and opened the door. Michael followed, wearing a dark gray suit specially tailored for today. His appearance was dignified. As they started walking toward the entrance, the door opened. Elizabeth appeared, with Howard visible behind her. Brenda was also there with her children, apparently having stayed at her parents' home. Confusion and surprise were evident on all their faces. "Caroline?" Elizabeth's voice was weak, unlike yesterday. Caroline straightened her back and took Michael's arm. His presence gave her strength. She spoke in a calm voice. "Mom, Dad, this is what I was trying to tell you yesterday." She took a deep breath and continued. "I am pregnant. And this is my fiancé, Michael." The color drained from Howard and Elizabeth's faces. Brenda stood with her mouth half open, speechless. The family alternately stared at Michael in his suit and the luxury car parked behind him. "I'm Michael Daniels," Michael introduced himself politely yet coolly. "I've been dating your daughter for a year." Silence dominated the surroundings. Elizabeth was the first to recover, hastily saying, "Well, do come in." Caroline looked at Michael, and he conveyed with his eyes, "It's up to you." She looked back at her parents and said quietly but firmly, "It's too late." Her words made her parents' faces stiffen. They seemed to be beginning to realize the magnitude of what they had lost. "Caroline, please," her father stepped forward. "Let's talk. Yesterday was. What did you say to me yesterday?" Caroline's voice was trembling, not from weakness but from contained anger. "You called my pregnancy a shame and this child garbage." Brenda blushed and looked away. Elizabeth looked at her husband, and Howard stood frozen, seemingly at a loss for words. "We will walk our own path," Caroline continued. "Just as you rejected me, I choose not to choose you." Her words carried weight, laden with years of accumulated disappointment and newfound certainty in her own worth. "Caroline," Michael gently placed his hand on her shoulder. She nodded slightly and gave her family one last look. Caroline didn't look back to maintain her resolve. "Wait, Caroline." Elizabeth's voice broke the stillness. Caroline stopped and slowly turned around. Her expression combined determination with quiet sadness. "Please, just listen a little longer," Elizabeth's voice trembled. Her usual haughtiness had disappeared, replaced by fear and regret. Caroline met Michael's eyes. He nodded slightly and whispered, "I support your decision." 5 minutes, Caroline said calmly. "No more than that." The family gathered at the entrance again. Caroline refused to even enter the living room. She was no longer a member of this house. "Won't you tell us more about your fiancé?" Elizabeth smiled in a contrived manner. Her eyes were fixed on Michael's luxury car and expensive-looking suit. Caroline smiled coldly. Yes, of course. You do have a right to know, don't you? She stepped forward and proudly took Michael's arm. This is Michael Daniels. He's the vice president of Sunrise Medical Technologies. Howard gasped. Sunrise Medical was the country's largest medical equipment manufacturer, a major corporation that even his law firm had once sought to do business with. We met a year ago and got engaged 3 months ago, Caroline continued. We're planning our wedding. It's scheduled for May. Brenda bit her lip, speechless. Jealousy was evident on her face. Oh, that's wonderful. Elizabeth suddenly changed her attitude, showing signs of joy. Yesterday I was just a bit surprised, there was a misunderstanding. Of course, we celebrate your happiness. Congratulations, Howard added. If only you had told us sooner. If I had told you sooner, what? Caroline interrupted. You would have thought I was having a valuable child instead of producing garbage. The family fell silent. There was no room for rebuttal to Caroline's words. Actually, we have one more thing to tell you, Michael said quietly. His voice held calmness and dignity. In preparation for our marriage, we had prepared a gift for Caroline's parents. Caroline took a set of keys and a bundle of documents from her coat pocket. Her hands trembled slightly. It's a property by Sunset Lake, she said. The place you've always dreamed of. We intended it as a gift for your retirement home. Tears welled in Elizabeth's eyes. She stumbled forward a step. Caroline, really? Yes, that's right, Caroline answered quietly. But this was prepared for you. Now, it's not necessary. She returned the documents and keys to Michael's hand. He silently put them in his suit pocket. I have a question for you, Caroline looked at her family. What do you think a real family is? Just blood ties? Or is it supporting, respecting, and loving each other unconditionally? No one could answer. Shame and regret colored their faces. I know my worth, Caroline continued. I'm starting a new life with someone who respects my choices and loves me. I will never again be influenced by someone else's judgment. Michael placed his hand on her shoulder and turned to face the family. We're creating a new family. We'll teach this child that there are things more important than blood ties. Howard was at a loss for words, and Brenda lowered her eyes. Only Elizabeth said in a faint voice, Caroline, please, give us another chance. Mom, Caroline smiled sadly. How can you ask for what you never gave? Then she took a photograph from her bag. It was an ultrasound image. This is your grandchild. If you truly want to restore our family bond, first take a look at yourselves. She handed the photo to her mother. Elizabeth received it with trembling hands, unable to hold back her tears. Caroline, Caroline said gently yet decisively. The door to my new life has opened. If you want to be part of it, you need to change yourselves. Michael put his arm around her waist, and they headed back to the car. This time, no one tried to stop them. The luxury car door closed, and the engine quietly roared to life. Caroline looked at the house one last time through the window. Years of pain and conflict were finally about to be released. I'm proud of you, Michael took her hand. You're truly a strong woman. Caroline smiled. There were tears in her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of hope for a new beginning. Thank you. For being here. The car slowly started moving. The image of the house and family in the mirror gradually grew smaller. Caroline exhaled deeply. It was a farewell to the past and a greeting to the future. Where shall we go? Michael asked. To our home, Caroline answered. To the home of our new family. The family left standing in front of the Morrison house was dumbfounded. They held the ultrasound image in their hands, and the heartbeat of that small life was slowly but surely beginning to restore warmth to their frozen hearts. After Caroline left, a long silence followed. What have we done? Howard finally spoke. His voice was thick with unprecedented regret. Elizabeth clutched the ultrasound photo to her chest, crying quietly. Brenda looked at her children, beginning for the first time to understand how jealousy and hatred toward her sister had distorted her own life. 6 months later, happiness filled a modern house in a quiet neighborhood near Chicago. Colorful flowers bloomed in the garden, and a plate engraved with Caroline and Michael Daniels shone at the entrance. Caroline sat on the sofa in the spacious living room, gently stroking her greatly swollen stomach. A wedding ring gleamed on her finger. A month ago, they had held a small wedding ceremony with only close friends. Caroline's wedding dress was specially designed to beautifully wrap around her 8-month pregnant belly. "What are you thinking about?" Michael came into the room carrying 2 coffee cups. He sat down next to his wife with a gentle smile. "About happiness," Caroline answered. "I'm unbelievably happy." On the wall hung photos from their wedding. Caroline's smile, wearing Michael's grandmother's heirloom pearl necklace, shone brighter than ever before. Meanwhile, dark clouds hung over the Morrison household. Howard had been hospitalized with a sudden health deterioration, and Elizabeth was alone in her husband's hospital room, gazing at the ultrasound photo. She called Caroline almost daily, but there was no response. Brenda was in a marriage crisis. Her husband had left home, saying, "I don't want to be with someone who hurts her sister." Brenda was finally beginning to realize that the jealousy and hatred eating away at her heart were destroying her own life as well. One morning in late May, Caroline went into labor earlier than expected. Michael, trying to appear calm but clearly flustered, rushed her to the hospital. "Your name?" the receptionist nurse asked. "Caroline Daniels," she answered proudly. A new name, a new identity, and the beginning of a new family. In the hallway of the maternity ward were unexpected figures. Elizabeth sat in the waiting room with a small bouquet, looking anxious. Beside her were a pale-faced Howard and, surprisingly, Brenda. When Michael came out of the delivery room and noticed them, he hesitated for a moment. But he approached his wife's family. "I'll let Caroline know," he said quietly. "But how she decides, that's up to her." After 12 hours of labor, Caroline gave birth to a healthy baby girl. When the baby's cry echoed through the room, tears of happiness filled her eyes. "She's perfect," she said in an exhausted voice. Michael gently embraced his wife and daughter, whispering, "You are everything in my life." After a quiet moment passed, Michael took Caroline's hand. "Someone's in the hallway," he announced. "Your family." Caroline's expression hardened. "I don't want to see them," she answered immediately. However, that night, when she saw her elderly parents and sister gazing at the small life outside the nursery, a small wavering occurred in Caroline's heart. She still couldn't forgive them, but a thought began to emerge that her daughter had a right to know about her family. 3 weeks after giving birth, Caroline made a decision. She wrote a letter. "I don't forgive you, but I want my daughter to know she has grandparents and an aunt. If you can learn the true meaning of family, I will allow you to be part of our lives." Enclosed with the letter was a photo of little Emma Grace Daniels. On a day when early summer sunshine poured down, the doorbell rang at Caroline's house. Elizabeth, Howard, and Brenda stood there. Their faces showed a mix of fear and hope. Michael quietly opened the door and invited them in. In the living room, Caroline was holding Emma. "This is your granddaughter, Emma," Caroline said quietly. From this moment, slowly and cautiously, a new bond began to form. It was a true family bond based not just on blood relations, but on respect, understanding, and unconditional love. The scene of various people gathering around little Emma in Caroline and Michael's home became their own answer to the eternal question of what family truly means.